Public comment is just that. You have 3 minutes to make public comment. It is not an engagement. It is just your comments for 3 minutes. You may begin.
All right, good morning, and thank you everybody for being here. My name is Abigail Bartlett. I work with Healthy Homes Coalition and Parents for Healthy Homes as an organizer. So we were just coming in to follow up on the status of how the funding appropriations were being used with the health department, particularly the sanitarians that were hired last year. We did some advocacy work around that to get more. As you may or may not know, we focus on lead prevention for children. And so that had been appropriated last year. And we hope that that is going well as additional funding for continued health interventions for that. And we want to make sure, we know that the pandemic is currently taking a lot of health resources, but we also know that health resources are critical for issues like lead, and especially with children staying home, that becomes an increased risk staying at home. So we are working with the city of Grand Rapids and the county, particularly the city, during our legislation, and this isn't a county work, but for a pilot program. And so we hope that the health department does that. And kind of how this ties in, there was a lead action team that we wanted to follow up on. And the reason we're at the budget committee is we had sent an email to the health department, particularly Adam London, in the beginning of October, trying to restart the lead action team to implement some of the tactic reports from the city of Grand Rapids. And one of the suggestions we made was that we wanted to offer a third party to facilitate it. We know that he has a lot on his plate right now. And so we would like to offer that solution if there's funding available for that, for the budget committee to take a look at that. And so we hope, as we know that COVID brings a lot of issues, but a lot of these public health issues that require critical funding are also prevalent. So I thank you for time to speak, and I hope you take these into consideration.
Thank you. Pam, do we have anyone else for public comment?
Don't see any other hands raised in the chat, and there are no other comments in the inbox.
Sorry, so I did email about it yesterday that there were a couple of other people that would possibly be here. I know Sarah is on the call right now. Sarah Eddington, sorry.
Okay, Pam, did you have anyone else raise a hand or?
There is no other hands raised. However, there is a Sarah Edgington on the call.
Hi, I'm sorry. I'm not sure how to raise a hand. I would just like hi, my name is Sarah Edgington. I live in Grand Rapids. And I would just kind of like to reiterate what Abigail said. I'm a Parents for Healthy Homes. I met with most of you last time when we had the wonderful opportunity to work together. And I would just like to continue to collaborate with you all. I know that COVID has kind of left us in a place where we have to be creative. And I wanted to kind of extend that opportunity to be creative. I think my big ask is that we are, as you know, we have the two sanitarians that we're really happy to have. And we just wanted to check in with the investment of the funding of the appropriations that were used and see how that investment was impacting the outcomes in our county. And the personal impact of lead, the impact of the sanitarians is really important. And we know that these interventions ensure adequate health and supporting the families who lack resources. So it's, again, really, really important. And I just want to thank the county commissioners for the opportunity to speak today and offer a way to collaborate and communicate with community members. And so thank you very much.
Okay. Pam, do we have anyone else on the interested in public comment? Again, you can send it to public comment at kentcountymi.gov. If you send an email to public comment at kentcountymi.gov, can add you to the public comment list.
I don't see any other public comment.
Okay. We'll give it another minute to make sure we have everybody. Anything else, Pam?
I don't see anything.
Okay. We will move to, we'll close public comment. We'll move to item 2 for, which is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved by Brevi.
Support by Wooden.
Okay, moved and supported. Do we have anything that has to be pulled? Okay, everything looks good. Any comments on the consent agenda?
No comments.
No comments. So why don't we go ahead and Pam, take a roll call vote to approve the consent agenda.
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Brevi,
Yes.
Commissioner Volkowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees,
Yes.
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, that will bring us to item number 3 from the administrator's office. Wayman, would you please read the action request?
Sure will. This is a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to authorize the board chair designee to sign an agreement with the Kent County Office of the Defender for the provision of indigent defense services in the amount of $4 million. Historically, the 17th Circuit Court and 63rd District Court have had agreements with the Kent County Office of the Defender, a nonprofit organization, to provide legal representation for those criminal defendants not able to afford an attorney. Michigan Indigent Defense Commission Act of 2013 requires implementation of new standards for indigent defense and authorized grants for approved spending that exceeds the local share commitment of a court's funding unit. As part of the county's implementation of these new standards, we're consolidating the contract for both the 17th Circuit Court and 63rd District Courts into a single agreement and shifting the agreement from the courts to the county. Funding for the agreement was included in the budget for indigent defense for 2020-21. This program runs on the state's fiscal year, which is beginning to 10/1, which was approved in September and in the submission to the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission. Prior to signature, Corporate Counsel will review and approve all documents. This action item is not an activity related to COVID-19. There are questions. Craig Paul is on the line. There's a memo also included in the packet.
Thank you,
Moved by
Wayman. Is there a
Voorhees.
motion? All right, there's a motion to approve. Is there a
Support.
second?
By Womack.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there questions, comments, and discussion?
Go ahead.
All right, no hands. Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Brevi,
Yes.
Volkowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees,
Yes.
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
and Chair Jones.
Yes,
That motion passes.
thank you. That will bring us to item number 4, also from the administrator's office. Wayman, would you please cover the action request?
It sure will. This is a request to the board to approve the individual disbursements of $1 million to the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce for administering the Small Business Grants Program as part of the county's COVID-19 subcommittee's executive report and recommendations dated June 4, 2020. Board Resolution 514-2044 accepted and appropriated the $114.6 million received from the U.S. Department of Treasury for the COVID-19 pandemic. Board Resolution 611-2059 received, filed, and approved and adopted the COVID-19 Subcommittee's executive report and recommendations, and individual disbursements in the amounts above $1 million were require approval by the Finance and Fiscal Resources Committee and the Board of Commissioners. The COVID-19 executive report included $25 million for small business grants and loans. Subsequent increases to the Small Business Grant Program included a $5 million reallocation on Resolution 9/24/2092, and an additional reallocation of $3.5 million is expected to be approved today for a total allocation of 33.5. I'm sorry, it would be approved Thursday for 33.5 million. Total to be paid to the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce is $1,072,000 or 3.2%. This action item is an activity related to COVID-19.
Thank you, Wayman. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Breve.
Support by Womack.
Okay, moved and supported, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just to put a finer point and verify this, when we accepted the recommendation and the report, and the amount was at 25 million, they had an administrative line item that was below the $1 million. It was like 750,000, I think. But as we've increased it, as we've decided to do so, obviously it makes sense that the admin line item should increase along with it in some pro rata share. But that's what tipped it over the $1 million, hence why it's coming back to us. This is not necessarily increasing their allotted share to $1 million, just because it now hit that $1 million mark. We've got to go through that approval process. Am I reading that correctly?
That's correct. The additional amount is for the additional administrative services that to implement the appropriation with the small businesses that we will be working with. So that's additional tasks, that's additional work. It wasn't planned initially, so this is why the additional amount is on the table. And the $1 million again is result of the recommendation and improved recommendation of the board from the subcommittee.
Absolutely. So, but if I'm reading this correctly, it means the $1 million is actually the total amount they will get for the entirety of the project, not the $1 million. That the $1 million is not coming to them because of the 8.5 that we have either appropriated after the original amount or about to appropriate.
I'm going to ask clarification from Linda Howell, who's been, or Jeff Dode. Could you both, one of you weigh in?
Sure, Wayman. Commissioner Wooden is accurate. That is a grand total. It's an aggregate $1 million for administering all $33 million worth of allocation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, anyone else?
I don't see any other hands.
Okay, Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor.
Yes.
Commissioner Breve.
Yes.
Commissioner Volkowski.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks.
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees.
Yes.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden.
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That will bring us to item number 5 from the Bureau of Equalization. Wayman, do you want to cover the action request?
Sure will. This is a request to the Board of Commissioners to approve the 2020 apportionment report. The general property tax law as amended outlines the responsibilities of the Board of Commissioners with respect to the annual apportionment report. The Board of Commissioners examines certificates of each local taxing jurisdiction and directs millage rates to be spread on taxable valuations. The Board of Commissioners also determines the dollar requirements necessary to fund the assessments for drains to be spread on the respective township and city rolls. This action item is not an activity related to COVID-19.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Volkowski.
Thank you. And is there support?
Support, Antor.
Okay, moved and supported, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion.
Don't see any hands raised.
Yes, Commissioner Bukowski.
Yeah, just I don't know, I think I saw Matt on the call. Anything of interest that you would like to note in this many-page, fine, detailed report that, compared last year to this year?
Matthew, are you on?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Nothing really extraordinary of note going from year to year. In this case, we do have Headley rollbacks are at play certainly, and most in the taxing authorities. We've had Headleys here in the county for the last 4 years. I expect another one next year. Aside from that, just sort of as a general overview, we do review the millage requests for all the taxing authorities in Kent County. That includes the K-12s, the college, the KISD, every township, city, and village, all the authorities, of course, the county, and also the DDAs and any special assessments in addition to the drains, as was pointed out in the resolution by Wayman. So we have done our due diligence on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. We do find that all of the millages are within the compliance of the Headley Amendment, and we humbly submit the report to spread the various millages for the 2020 year and authorize them the same.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions?
Just a comment from Antoine.
Go ahead, Tom.
Just wanted to thank the director for that report. Like Commissioner Bukowski, I agree. It's very detailed, very concise, and I just really appreciate the work they do. That's probably one of the tougher jobs, I think, within county government, to keep track of all this every day, every week, every year. And I appreciate the due diligence and the complete report that you put out.
Thank you.
Voorhees
Thanks,
agrees.
Tom.
Go ahead, Commissioner Voorhees.
I just agree with Commissioner Antor. Over the years, Matt, you've been a steady, truthful voice, and appreciate your work.
Thank you. I'd be remiss, Commissioner, if I didn't say that I simply represent a hardworking team of a lot of people that make the report possible. So thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right. Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor,
Yes.
Commissioner Breve,
Yes.
Commissioner Bukowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees,
Yes.
Commissioner Womack,
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden,
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 6 on our agenda from the Health Department. Wayman, would you please read the action request?
You bet. This is a request to approve the Health Department's Eagle Grant Agreement, accept and appropriate $110,000 to the 2020 Coronavirus Relief Fund budget, and to authorize the board chair or her designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the grant award, or the original award. Eagle has provided funding for a wastewater monitoring program for SARS-CoV-2 that will rapidly detect the circulation of the virus within specific communities via wastewater testing by confirming the presence of the virus, indicating the trend of virus shedding, and quantifying the disease burden with the pilot communities tested. The pilot testing will be done at the City of Grand Rapids Water Resource Recovery Facility, City of Wyoming Clean Water Plant, Spectrum Health Hospitals Rehabilitation and Nursing Center, and 4 congregate housing facilities that are served by on-site septic systems in Kent County. The data collected will support local testing strategies and better inform local and statewide healthcare and public health response stakeholders. Data results may also lead to the decrease in the burden of testing in congregate facilities such as prisons and long-term care facilities. To support the work of the wastewater monitoring grant, the health department will receive $110,000 to cover the cost of staffing, laboratory supplies, laboratory equipment, and travel. The grant request is related to COVID-19 and is funded with COVID relief funds made available through the state of Michigan. The grant agreement period for the Eagle contract is October 1, 2020 through December 30th, 2020. Prior to signature, our corporate counsel will review and approve all documents.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Breve.
Supported by Wooding.
Moved and supported. We'll take questions, comments, and discussion on this agenda item. Commissioner Breve.
Thank you, Chair. I think I saw that Adam London was on the line earlier. I'm just curious, if COVID is found in the wastewater, what would the next steps be? Do they test, the whole population of that building, or, what happens next when they do find COVID in there?
Yeah, good morning, Commissioner. This is really an exciting new technology and a technique that's been tried in some other places around the country. And I expect that, yes, we're always going to find COVID virus and actually remnants of those particles in the wastewater. It's really about amplitude and the quantity of that virus concentration, which, according to what we've seen in other parts of the country, can give about a week's heads up that things are starting to increase in an area based on that virus signature in the wastewater. So, we're hopeful, and we're still kind of testing this out, and other places are testing this out, that we're going to find is that with certain locations, maybe congregate living centers, that by seeing that a week before cases start to become symptomatic, that we can intervene with cohorting and separating people and doing more testing with that population, try to find these outbreaks before they become large outbreaks that can shut a place down.
Super interesting. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see kind of what happens with this and how we can use it as a predictor, and hopefully we can tackle the virus even quicker.
Okay, Commissioner Wooden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I would be remiss if I didn't comment that I've heard our BPW members say they talk trash when they talk about BPW, so I shudder to think what puns come up with as we develop this idea. But I will, my one question for Dr. London is the specificity really only tied to a congregate living facility? Can specificity boil down to even a neighborhood that is on a city wastewater system, on a public wastewater system, or is really only kind of congregate facility, or the entire water system as a whole?
Both. And so theoretically, it could be used with the level of specificity to look at a particular congregate living facility, an adult foster care home, maybe a shelter for people who are experiencing homelessness. We're still testing this, and so this is both a pilot along with a program simultaneously. But we're also looking at, the city of Wyoming, the city of Grand Rapids. So we're doing these large analyses, and we're not going to be able to sort that data out by neighborhood or by zip code. But if it works, if we see that it's successful in identifying these surges beforehand, then I expect that we're going to expand this and increase the number of places in which we're sampling in order to gain that level of specificity.
Perfect. Thank you.
Commissioner Bukowski.
Actually, Commissioner Breve had asked my question, so I thought I lowered my hand. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else, the other commissioners, have any questions or comments on item 6?
Don't see any other hands.
Okay, Pam, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Antor.
Yes.
Commissioner Breve.
Yes.
Commissioner Bukowski.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees.
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks.
Yes.
Commissioner Womack.
Yes.
Commissioner Wooden.
Yes.
Chair Jones.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. That will bring us to item number 7, from Kent County Veteran Services. Wayman, would you please cover the action request?
Absolutely. This is a request to the Board of Commissioners to accept and appropriate the 2020-21 County Veteran Services Fund Grant in the amount of $92.4 thousand and authorize the board chair or designee to execute the grant agreement, approve extensions, amendments, and increases to the grant appropriation not to exceed 15% of the original award. The County Veteran Services Department received the 2020-21 CVS grant and from the Michigan Department of Military and Veteran Affairs in the amount of $92.4 thousand. This is the third year for County Veterans Department has received the grant. The funding will provide continued support and revenue for the following activities: equine assisted therapy retreat for 10 female veterans, outreach initiatives to educate the public and grow participation of Kent County veterans and their dependents. It will increase Kent County veterans and their dependents access and utilization of the Kent County Veteran Services benefits. Bus signage and radio advertising will be used for that. And it will host the Yellow Ribbon Art Project Grand Opening Gala and activities. This grant period is October 1 through 2020 through September 30th, 2020. Assistant Corporate Counsel has reviewed and approved the agreement. This action is not an activity related to COVID-19.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Antor.
Support by Breeby.
Moved and supported, and we'll take questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioner Bukowski.
Thank you, Chair. Just to continue adding to my conflicts of interest, I know this is about resources into the Veterans Service Department. However, Disability Advocates entered into a contract with Veterans Services a month and a half ago to provide some additional local support to veterans that we provide, and that has been disclosed in our conflict of interest statement and all that. So I'm just going to abstain because I don't know if any of these dollars eventually make it to us or not, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has a question or comment to make? All right, so Pam, for this one, let's go ahead and take the roll call, and you can do yes, no, or abstain. Okay, move to support it, and now we'll take questions, comments, discussion. Commissioner Wynn.
Thank you, Chair. First, again, moving across the line, this comes up a few times. It's kind of important in this instance, we has necessarily heard this decision, but if anything, some issue with myself has that when we are at least close the owner, their life as an individual or family. So it could be that for something coming after request memo, we call out the entity individual or a family who say, one individual taking the care of them or something of that kind. If this is the issue, we have the possibility now, but in the future.
Sure, Mr. We'll follow that protocol, and we got to make sure that we also follow the legal requirements of it. So we'll make sure that both of those are covered. If there's any kind of legal requirements, so as well, we'll let you know that.
And also, Madam Chair, another question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Wynn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a little more. This is something that came to my mind as I was reading this. It's not to this, but again, in future purposes, have we ever run into a situation where we've had to acquire a home that is not owned by that's not a home ownership property, but is instead rented? And in that case, do we have any policies or protocols to ensure that when that tenant moves home, we are hoping ensure that tenant finds new and equivalent lodging? I think about my own job going place. When we acquire properties that may be leased to someone else, we obviously have an obligation to pay a fair market price to the homeowner, which helps them find new residents. But there's usually additional obligations. Do we have any policies or practices to ensure that if that were to occur, we have something to help us?
There have been many cases where that occurred. I remember when we did the purchase of properties running the Human Services Office, and I had situations there. It's all tied up in the legal parts of the deal. Linda, can you expound on that, please?
Sure. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if I recall a situation where we actually had an agricultural tenant in a corporate. I can't think of any homeowners we have homeowners with relocation assistance as part of the negotiated transaction. I'm sure if there was an actual rental tenant in there, first of all, we're bound by that contract. So just because we buy a house in the middle of a rental contract doesn't give us the right to terminate that. Whether we would continue to renew the contract is a whole different question of the department. People would have the role of defining that property for a reason, and that reason obviously would take into whether that rental contract was continued or allowed to last at the end of the term.
Thank you, very helpful.
Linda, before you Commissioner Wynn's questions, I may get a question from Matt. As far as who owns property, isn't that public record? Can you go online and put an address and the tax records come up?
Yes, ma'am.
So the next question, Commissioner Wynn, we need public information along those lines. I'm kind of curious where you're headed with that.
Yeah, certainly. And I checked the tax records myself while being the I just think the abundance of transparency when we're presenting something in public review and we're voting on having more information sometimes than having less. And I certainly understand that it is a single residence, it is a residency position, just saying owned by a household taken care of, but to an SDLC, some type of corporation, requirement, having that the knowledge, provide that level of transparency and openness, I think is only good. Especially when it takes essentially just another 7 going on.
Commissioner Bukowski.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First, I want to thank Layman and Park staff for continuing to track these. As Commissioner Wood noted, our grants are always years in the making, and how we come up with local match and all that stuff. So thank you for that hard continuous work and keeping those balls play. My comment is though more focused on when you get that last page of our board packet or committee packet, and when I go to Millennium Park and Planning, some beautiful signage at Florida Mayor, and you find it, and there's these two industrial properties. Some might call them eyesores. So sorry about that. So anyways, pretty much for those properties on North End of the Park there. Again, make sure we're honoring current owners and current usage, but by golly, it would just be nice to help those folks find new places to do business.
Yep, there's plenty of conversation along those lines with Joe Kowski and the Catholic Arts Foundation. But is Dan line?
You should be in here.
Dan, would you like to respond to Mr. Kowski's question and give us a summary on that component?
Absolutely. So we currently are working on solutions to either help them move or relocate. It is on the radar. We have solutions with both property owners. So it's going to take time, but we're definitely working on with the foundation as well to come up with some creative solutions to help them move.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there anyone else?
I don't see any other hands.
Maybe can we take just a minute on the price? Is all of that coming right from the grant?
Yeah, the answer?
It's $180,000 is coming from grants, and the remainder will be coming out of we have 2 CIPs that will cover the remainder.
Okay, so it's a grant, 2 CIPs, nothing from the Parks Foundation?
Yep.
Okay, just confirming that. And that's all that I have questions. Is there anyone else?
I don't see any other hands.
All right, so let's take a roll call vote, please, Sam.
Sure. Commissioner Hansford.
Yes.
Commissioner Brady. Yes. Commissioner Bulkowski.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks.
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees.
Yes.
Commissioner Womack. Commissioner Womack. Commissioner Ridden.
Yeah.
Commissioner Wood, yes, too.
Chair Jones.
Yes. Did we have a yes from Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Great. All right, and you said that passed, right?
That passes, yes.
Perfect. How many this morning? We need to return to the Finance and Fiscal Resources Committee. Mr. Kowski.
Speaking of disability advocates veteran services, my contact flyer that I'll send it to all commissioners. We're actually partnering with Western Ocean and a mobility company out of St. Louis called Phoenix Mobility Rising, a mobility project pilot for veterans and their families. As many of you likely know, especially if you're ran for, getting a ride to Ann Arbor or Fort Custer for medical services can be very, very challenging, and that's put it nicely. And so this is a volunteer-based but computer-supported opportunity. And so any all volunteer, so you're open to passing it along to your people.
Hey, any other commissioners? Yes.
Yes,
Commissioner.
Sure. Yes, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you guys have hooked up and are going to be working together. I think it's great because still, even today, there's people that slip through the cracks and aren't able to, have the transportation stuff like that. And I was just wondering, did they come to you, Dave, or is that something you just kind of mutually agreed on?
Real quick, it's Trina Edmondson, who's our workforce development manager. She's beyond passionate about helping veterans. Her husband served in the first Iraq war, and she's just fantastic. Very well networked with the West Michigan Veterans Coalition. And the folks at Phoenix Rising, it's through a connection I made when I was on the Council on Future Mobility, and so they were looking for people who would be willing to help with such pilots, and we're always saying yes to try something new because if you're not experimenting, you're not going to find cool stuff. So it's just because you just keep talking to people, keep networking people, and good things happen. So that's what I thought.
That's great. Jeremy, just one more comment.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so along those lines, I know certain benefit packages for veterans. Some of them receive more benefits if they serve during wartime conflict, and the ones don't get much because they have serving in peacetime. I was just wondering if you guys would be still working with people that might fall outside the benefits package with the veterans facility.
Yeah, I mean, we do everything we can if somebody finds us to help them find the right resources. And I could go on to the chair starting to look antsy since we have a work session next.
Okay.
But that, yeah, no, I just kind of joking there. Yeah, so I can tell you many stories of how we helped the veteran that ran with some bathroom modifications, and there was 5 or 6 different funding sources, including veterans, support dollars, private dollars, their faith community dollars, throw a little CBG and senior religion. I mean, our staff, and again, it's not me. I just help them get out of the way. They blend everything they can to help people live a self-directed life. So never hesitate to send anybody our way because we partner greatly with the folks at King County Veteran Services. That's why we were able to get that contract and do the quality work Trina does and her team. We have veterans on staff. There's actually a veteran with a service-related disability who's coordinating this pilot. So yeah, that's a long answer to say. Just send folks our way if Kent County Veteran Service you think they're falling through the cracks.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you, Jerry.
Hey, ma'am, anyone else for Commissioner Place?
I don't see any hands.
I wouldn't mind seeing we have Adam still hanging around.
I don't see him online.
Yes, I'm fine.
So thank you, Adam. I just want to see if you, from my standpoint, had any comments about our sanitarians for the commissioners.
Yeah, so they, as you know, our employees now we have hired those positions. I think it might be most appropriate if I provide a written summary and update to this committee as to performance and what they have done in the meantime. As the commenter already said, during the early portions of the pandemic, many of our human resources were redirected into case investigation, contact tracing, things like that. We have brought in technologies helping us with that, and so we are placing people back into their intended areas of work. And those sanitarians in those areas are doing inspections, and they are doing that work now. It would be most factual and helpful if I actually provide a written summary or an update that's the best time to actually pull those numbers and provide you with something.
All right. Any other commissioners? Is there anyone here?
I don't see any hands.
All right, so at 9:30, and I believe that's how it's set up for the work session, right, ma'am? Please join us during that. I have a conflict of conflicts that I have to attend, so Commissioner Brady will be joining that, and that will start at 9:30. That is a work session, so no decisions are made there. That is an information platform for the budget process. And Dwayne, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the work session at 9:30?
No, just over here to educate on special funds, and we will hopefully answer the question that's going to remain today. I did want to introduce Jennifer James to the Finance Committee. I know we'll have an opportunity to do that same thing with the entire board, but Jennifer comes from Rockville, Maryland. She's our new deputy administrator. Thank you, Jennifer, for being here today, and we welcome her. I just wanted to acknowledge her today and introduce her to the Finance Committee.
Perfect. So with that, we are adjourned. Our next meeting date is Tuesday, November